Facebook issues? Okay. All right. It's 5 o'clock. If we can call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. My iPad just kicked me out, so let's see if I can pick this up on paper here. Doing roll call, all members are present. Is there any public comment tonight? If there's anybody that'd like to speak on anything, you're welcome to come forward. Come on up to the podium and just state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you for coming in.
Kim Martin, I live on Fifth Avenue Southwest, and actually want to talk to you about a couple things. Illuminate Isanti is one of them. I don't know if you want me to wait till that topic comes up.
No.
Okay.
You go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, I just want to say that I think Isanti does a really good job of having events that get people here. We don't do a very good job of having things here to make them stay, to spend their money here. I have a feeling they go somewhere once they come here, because there's nowhere to go. You know, one restaurant, one hotel, one. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure.
And that kind of brings me to the Illuminate Isanti. I have some, I think the way it was set up last year was set up for failure. I'm not surprised that it did. So one of the things I'd like to suggest is that you go back to keep it, because I think it's a nice event. Go back to the 4 days. I have there's a lot of businesses that benefit from some of the other events that we have here, maybe using them as sponsors for that event. Like you do it all the weekends in December. A company in Isanti gets a weekend. They have their employees are the volunteers. You're not paying them. Maybe hire somebody as a manager for the event to coordinate all that gets paid. I don't know. Maybe the liquor store can get involved. That's owned by the city. Maybe they can help with some of that expense. The city workers, I read somewhere that we were paying overtime for them.
So there was only, I'll just stop you there with that. There was only 1 hour of overtime that was given for that. The paper actually wrote that wrong. There was $150 of overtime for one emergency call. Otherwise, it was all on normal time as Public Works had time to set up. Yep.
Then that takes care of that. Because there's people out there doing stuff like making snow for the sledding hill and that kind of stuff when that event is not going on. So I was hoping that the city wasn't paying them overtime to do that, for example.
Correct.
So anyway, that's what I have.
Okay. Thank you. So I love to hear the input from the residents, and we did try a different strategy this year because the 2 previous years didn't work. We had thought, if you have a longer event, you can justify the time spent on the setup, so you have more times for people to enjoy it. We did try to do a more sponsorship. I was expecting or hoping for more, but we didn't get, I think, what we needed to see to justify the taxpayer expense on that. That was kind of the consensus of the board up here, but I'm happy to listen to any sort of ideas. I love that you came forward and offered some, and we're definitely open to discussion on it. So I just wanted to say we never formally said we're going to just junk all the Illuminate Isanti stuff. We just said we need to reevaluate how we run the event, what we do with the lights, and the format. So
Did we reach out to the businesses in the community?
Yes.
And they just didn't want to participate?
yes.
That's kind of crap.
Exactly. So we're kind of, our hands are tied, we tried, that was a big push this year to get sponsorships. I know Stephanie worked quite a bit on that, and we did have some great businesses that always step up. I'm not sure if maybe the word didn't get out there strong enough, so if our community can work maybe together to get more of a word out there, that would be great. We're only 5 people up here, and our city staff's only so much, so we worked hard at it, so.
And I'd like to make a comment that it's not just the businesses that need to support this.
It's the everyday residents that need to support this too. So we relied.
Yes, we
Yes,
did.
we did. Did you?
Yeah, I was there every day.
Good.
Didn't run it, but participated.
Yep, and that's the whole thing, is about participating, and we did volunteer. It's just, I don't think that you should be paid to volunteer.
Right. But it's hard to get volunteers, and we've had a lot of discussion on that. How do we get people to get involved? You know, and it's come down to you have to pay them to show up. And it's not really volunteering at that point. But how do we work as a community to get a group together? I'm all for it. I love to see the lights there, but just at the taxpayer expense, it's just so hard to justify.
We ask these companies to participate, and they get a sign up there that says XYZ company is sponsoring this event today, and these are their workers that are here, and I mean,
Yes.
I'm sure all that was thrown out there,
Mhm.
and they just don't want to.
Yeah, well, we had Minco, there were some other businesses that did do that, and it seems like there's a core group of businesses that want to be involved, and they're always great, DW and Minco, and there's some other ones that are always involved,
We
but,
got Snow Bear there, and Wolf River, and Knife River, and, I mean, there's a lot of nice companies.
Sure.
Yes.
That benefit from all these other wonderful events that you have here.
And I believe Wolf River has donated a large chunk in the past.
yes, they have.
So,
So I think if we as a community can work together and maybe talk to these businesses, you know, you vote with your dollars. When you spend your dollars, you know, if you're going to support a business that's more likely to support the city and their Illuminated Sandy, I think that's a good message to send. If that's what the community wants, you know. The community votes with their time too. If we're not seeing community involvement in it, then, you know, how do we justify it up here? But I've seen a lot of people in the community the last few weeks, now that we're being transparent with this information, coming up with ideas, and I love to see it, so. Thank you.
Are we rolling into that right now?
Yep. All right, is there any other public comment? You can come on forward if you like, or is it on Illuminate? Okay, you can wait, we're about to pop into that. Anybody else? All righty, thank you. We will move on to item E1, Illuminate Isanti. If anybody would like to come speak on this, you're more than welcome to. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Carla Anderla, and I live at 312 Flintwood Street in Isanti. So we are owners of Now That's Waffles Food Truck, so we've attended the Illuminate Isanti. We didn't this past year. We were there one evening. We did hot drinks because they were looking for someone to do hot drinks. Having it so many days for our personal schedule, it just didn't work out for us. That's why we didn't participate as much, although we really enjoyed all the years that we did participate. It wasn't always the most lucrative for us. It wasn't like we made a great profit, but we always enjoyed the idea of it, and we just knew that there was a lot of room for growth and that it could really be a great event. So what we've thought about in our family is that we feel like that there should be a committee, a public committee, not necessarily the council, but a group of people that want to organize it and plan it and help with the setup and help with the tear down. Because a long time ago, they had a community involvement team. And so I guess it would be kind of something like that, where it's a group of people that gather. Maybe there's somebody from the city that comes to each meeting or something like that, or maybe there's a go-between, a person that goes to the city and lets them know what's going on. But I think a committee could really work, and I know that there's a lot of people that would get behind it and support it. So that was one of the things that we thought would be a good idea. I don't know what they're doing as far as where the decorations and everything are stored, but in our opinion, we think that it would be a great idea to put them in shipping containers. That's what they do in Duluth. So they do all of their decorations, everything are in shipping containers. Then that shipping container is brought to the place, everything all at once, and so you don't have to make multiple trips. And then they utilize those shipping containers to people walk through them. They use them as tunnels and different things like that, so that you're utilizing it, plus it has the storage capacity. So that would be one thing that we would suggest. I would think that would save a lot of time, but I'm not
That's a
exactly
great
sure.
idea.
I'm not sure how, I mean, I don't know how you guys really do it, but I just would think that a shipping container would be a great idea.
I believe there was one display that's too big to fit in a shipping container, the big tree by quite a bit. But some of the other ones, I don't know how they're palletized. I know we talked about that at one point, but with the tree having to go in a different spot, it just made sense to keep it all together.
Yeah, so the tree and the snowman, a few of the larger things don't fit in our pallets. I'm not sure if they'd fit in a shipping container.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
It'd be, the snowman's pretty big also, for sure, those two. But, the rest of them are put on pallets and boxes, and so delivered that way over
Okay.
on the pallets.
I like the idea, though. Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. We definitely thought that there were too many days this year. I completely understand the idea of like allowing more days because it is a lot to set up. I completely get that. But I kind of feel like it just didn't make it as special, if you will. Like it just made it kind of seem like, well, I can go whenever, so I'll just, it didn't make it seem a little bit more urgent to get there on the certain days. And then when you have it so many days, then you have to have volunteers or things like that for all those days too. So that becomes tiresome. So we thought limiting hours and stuff was important too. Kind of like, was it the first year? It was done, I don't remember anymore which year it was, but the year that it was like the second weekend and it was that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it was the next weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I kind of felt like that was a really good amount.
Second year.
That was the second year, okay. So, or even just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something. Just limited, I think, is important, especially if you can look at when people were coming.
Right.
Like, why, if people weren't coming on Sundays, don't have it open Sundays, because like, and then it can always grow. It can always, if it gets to be that it's so packed in there, what a great problem, that we have to extend it out to more days, then that can happen, but I would limit it until it gets to that point so that it is more attended. I would limit the amount of food trucks that are there. I can't imagine why you'd get that perspective from me, but because we're small businesses, we need to be busy, we need to make money. We can't have, sitting there losing money each day. And like this year, there wasn't food trucks every day it was open. It was only on Fridays and Saturdays. I think one of the biggest things that was missing out was that there wasn't something there at least serving hot drinks, because people really liked having hot drinks. We were there the one night, and I think it was the only night that there were hot drinks there, and people were they loved it. So if we do go back to having it where it's charging, and we liked having the fence. As a food truck owner, we liked having a fence up so that we could leave our truck there. When it wasn't gonna have a fence, we were like, we're not gonna leave our truck just sitting there. So, and with the weather all the time, you just never really know, but, so we liked having the fence up. And you need to kind of have a path so that everyone goes through and sees everything. And then it's also forced in through that food court area, or where people are selling things, because there were people selling different products too at one point. So that you get that flow through, that always helps. We think it would be great if there was a holiday lighting competition or participation in the community. So encourage people to decorate their house. If they can register that house, maybe they get free tickets for registering. And then maybe there's a printed map or a posted map somewhere of all the participants, so people can come and drive throughout the community and see the lights. We think there should be businesses in the community also should be encouraged to decorate. After all, it is Illuminate Isanti. It's not just that one little area, it could be the whole community. We think that if we go back to doing tickets, we think there could be like local businesses that are doing pre-sale tickets that are discounted. Maybe it's at Little North or Ace or Nick and Drew's, maybe it's the liquor store or something like that. Or maybe there's a Cyber Monday deal online. There could consider putting lights in the outhouses. They're really dark. You're trying to go to the bathroom. I would very much encourage that. Consider posting closed if there's bad weather. I think we did that this last year.
Yep.
Because lights and water are not a good combination. Another good ticket thing would be like a thrift, like if you're open on Thursdays, maybe it's Thrifty Thursday. I don't know what the price would be for tickets, but maybe tickets on Thursdays are $5 because then you get people maybe wanting to come on Thursday just because it's cheaper. And/or maybe having a family ticket package where, you know, you don't spend more than it's more than $25 for the whole family to go or something. And then as far as like, ways to get that, well, you can get the businesses involved, which it sounds like you've all tried doing, but there's a lot of grants out there for exactly this kind of an event that want to give you thousands of dollars to do it. So if you've got anybody who's really good at writing grants, there's a lot of them out there. Those would be my suggestions.
Sure. All right, great. I thank you. I appreciate it. Are you interested in assembling a committee? So I like all these ideas, but there's no way that our city staff, we're really lean here.
Yeah.
And it's hard for city staff. I mean, they busted their neck this year trying to make the event possible, and it's hard for us to add more and more. So if there's a committee would want to commit to it, I kind of see it like the farmer's market, the city's involved, but not really. I think that would be a great way to do it. I want to see it continue. I like it. But just when we see the financial numbers on it, it's just hard to justify without help from the residents,
Yep. I
outside
agree.
of taxpayer dollars. And as far as the ticketing goes, we had talked about that, and to me, when I wasn't on council, the ticket price was ridiculous. To tax people to buy the lights and then to basically charge them to go in and see it, that didn't really jive with me. And I see it as more of a free event if it's gonna continue, but it would have to be with volunteers, because by the time you pay for a ticket hosting software and someone staffed out there to gather tickets as well as the fencing which required, that's another 70 hours of public works time to put that fencing up.
Yeah.
So you have all these expenses that really make it basically break even at the same point. So I think if it is to continue, I think the free is the best avenue. But if there's, a committee that could be formed, I would be all ears for it.
I'm gonna start out with this. This was one of my brainchild. And I wanted to model it just like Bentleyville. Bentleyville charges $5 for parking. 10 people, 2 people, 1 people, it's $5 to park. The city would, that money would go towards the city to help keep funding this. And then, I've been thinking about it quite a bit. And I think that if you're more apt to get donations for specific charities, we'll use Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, the Fire Department Relief Association. These are things. You would probably get those groups that would volunteer to collect that money. It always was my intention to charge $5 for parking. That's it. No more. That's it. Because, we are using cities' lots, and that helps cover that cost. It was never meant to make millions of dollars in the first few years. I don't want to say this in ill words, but our finance director even said, you got to give this thing 5-6 years. It's not going to happen in the first year. And that was my whole intention, was to charge $5 for parking. You park, you pay $5. If you want to walk across the street from the buildings, that's fine. But if you're going to, most people are going to drive here. And it isn't just designed for city residents, it's for community. It's a community. Everything that I've ever tried to come up with here is for community. And when you build a community, you build a city, you build local businesses. Because those people come in and spend money at the local businesses. Just like her, that's Waffles, they come in and they're buying their product while she's sitting there. That's what my whole intention of this thing was to be done. Not to go, we had our previous Park and Rec director, God bless her heart, she dealt with a lot of big you know, the Alcatennial and all that stuff in Minneapolis, she, you know, kind of ran along with her idea on that, but I still was hesitant on charging that $12 per person. $5 to park. Anybody would do that, you know? And I don't think that's asking too much. But I think if we were to specifically, like you said, cut back to the 2 weekends or 3 weekends, whatever, and you put certain groups that, you know, this is going beyond Yellow Ribbon, or this is going to, you know, Police Association Relief, or Fire Department, just, these are just names, and it's nothing specific there, but like that, you would probably get more of those people volunteering to come out and help to collect those donations. That's my personal opinion. I hate to say it, God bless their heart, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, I mean, they're great organizations, but when you think about it, you go buy an $8 box of cookies, you know, they're making good money on those things. You know, for them to come out and do that, I'm not putting them down, by no means, I don't want anybody to think that. But that's how you support them. Not a lot of support goes to Beyond the Yellow Ribbons, or, you know, fallen officers, or fallen firemen, or anything like that. These, you know, even the Humane Society. A lot of people don't have money that go and do those things, where this is a great opportunity where they would probably come and volunteer to help get those funds. That's my opinion. And I do like the idea of the shipping container. We'd have to figure the logistics on that, but then that would take care of our storage issues. You know, I know a good-sized shipping container, we can get that Christmas tree in and the snowman in one. But I mean, it's not a bad idea. We can take it out there, we can put lights over it, whatever. I like the idea of you bringing up community decorating. Maybe outside of Illuminate Isani, we can have, I've seen this in cities where they've gone into parks and individual families come out and they decorate a tree. And somebody goes by and says, hey, that's, you know, I like the way this tree looks, or, you know, it's a contest, and it's also adding more lights where they come out and do it. That's another thought. And that's getting more community involvement. That's just mine. And I want everybody to understand, that was never my intentions with this thing, was to charge $12. And that was the biggest complaint I got, just like Mayor Merrill said, was you pay tax on top of that $12. It should have been just a flat, no tax on top of it. Because that's how it's done. But I think if it was given that opportunity to go, that it would change it. I don't disagree with the fact, cutting back the days. But like I said, everything I try to do here is for community involvement, not just strictly for the city. Because when you bring the community here, people spend money here. And if you don't grow these kind of things and bring people in, we're not gonna get restaurants, we're not gonna get industries, we're not gonna get bigger businesses, because people wanna be able to pull employees from the local area. So sometimes you have to spend money to bring those other things in.
It's definitely a complicated issue. I mean, last year we had it open to the public, it was free. And if we would have took a head count of everybody who went in and out of there and decided how much money we would need from each one to break even, the numbers just.
$10. It was
yeah.
$10. We had the same attendance. Well,
So-
the first year and they were roughly all the same amount of attendance, and it was roughly 5,000.
And I'm sure we had a lot more people through because it was free this year. And your ideas were great ideas. I'd love to see more community involvement in this. And if we could get a community committee like you mentioned, the thing is we have just a short month and a half probably before we can really decide one way or the other what to do. So if we're gonna do something like that, we should try to get it going as soon as we can. Nobody wants to see it end. We just don't want the money pit because the city has, I was trying to find the numbers on here, but does anybody know exactly how much we're in the red on this? I thought it was, is it over 6 figures?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, way over.
Yeah, I thought it was
It's like
over.
160. Yes.
Yeah. Sure, it's not on my iPad, and it should be, but I scrolled through all the meetings. Yeah, 169, something like that
It's
rings a
somewhere
bell to
around
me.
there. It's,
Total event operating. Yeah, total event account balance since 2022, 163,740.11 cents.
Okay. So that's how much we're in the red on the event. So we've all tried really hard to figure out how to keep this event going and.
Every year we've tried something
We've tried to
different.
think outside the box and, because otherwise it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, you know, if you or we do get a committee going on this, I would like to see that committee also look at those numbers and say, well, Illuminated Isani is a great idea, but is there something even better maybe that families in the community would get more out of and more participation? I don't have that answer, but, yeah. Is it something you'd be willing to try to take a little bit of a lead on?
I could probably be involved. I don't know if I can necessarily take the lead.
If there is a committee, I'd be more than happy to join in on it too.
Excuse me, Mayor, if you could have her come up and just introduce who she is, just so we have her on the record for a
Sure.
name and address, please.
okay. Cheryl, if you come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Cheryl Davidson, address 512 Marion Street Southwest. This is a great event. I'm sure no one wants to see it leave. You know, sometimes you don't make a profit, you do it because it's something good, but you do need to make your money back somehow. This event for me is really good because I do have a special needs granddaughter that is not able to go to Bentleyville or, you know, the other ones because they're large, they're crowded. I finally got the chance to take her this year because she's now living with us, and seeing her eyes light up and just running down there to look at all those lights. And I mean, she was at one and then she was at the other. I couldn't keep up. You know, I'm old, I'm on a trip. But, you know, she really enjoyed it. And I do know a lot of people with special needs children that are looking for events like this where they can go, they can enjoy, they can make their memories and not have meltdowns or kids panicking. And I think if we could get the word out like that to different groups and post it as a, hey, we're family friendly, this is a sensory friendly event, we would see a large uptake in attendance. I'm actually on quite a few group boards for special needs parents and autistic parents, that getting the word out there, they're always looking for something to do in the winter during the Christmas season that their kids will enjoy and benefit from. So, I mean, if there's going to be a committee, I would very happily be on that to brainstorm and look at some ways to maybe market this effectively towards different groups that maybe would enjoy it just for that. In the past, we have had lighting decoration contests. That's how my neighbors got the nickname the Griswolds. And it went really good. Lots of people did it. It was fun to drive around and look at the different lights. I think the idea of having a map and having people enter and having their house on a map, just like the citywide garage sales, because sometimes driving around and just looking at lights is a great distraction as well. I just don't think this has been around long enough to give up yet.
I'm glad you brought that up about the Christmas lights. I know the city used to offer X amount of money every year for the best Christmas lights, and I don't think we have done that for the last few years, which we should
It
have.
hasn't been around.
We should have, and I think if we continue Illuminate Isani, maybe we should up that ante, because she had a really good point. You know, if we're gonna promote us as Illuminate Isani, maybe try to
Some
promote it
business
more
involvement,
community-wide,
maybe a
yes.
business decorating contest. The house decorating contest is a good idea. Adopting a tree in one of the parks. You know, churches might go in with that. Having different groups to volunteer. Some church youth groups do it, like they did at the rodeo for cleaning up after. I know with Special Olympics, we had a program for a while with the swimming team, that if high schoolers donated their time volunteering to work with this program, then the people that were in charge would in turn write them a recommendation letter attesting to their volunteer work. I mean, that might be a way to go. I mean, yeah, you don't always have to pay a volunteer to have them volunteer. That's totally, defeats the purpose. But you can give a non-monetary, hey, if you're gonna do this, you commit to this amount of time, we will write you a letter saying that you did this so you can add that to your portfolio for college applications or whatever. It's just a good way to get the kids more involved in the community, because we're growing and those are gonna be our future people involved with this town. Why not get them involved now? Instead of waiting till they're adults and going, well, what's going on? Because we all do that once in a while. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for offering your time.
Yeah, if we could get a group of, I'm gonna say 5 to 7 people,
At
and
least,
I don't know
yeah,
what
5
that
to
looks like
7.
for actual setup, because it's a pretty extensive job for Public Works and equipment, and so I don't know if there's, maybe a construction company or a adequate, company that does that sort of thing that wants to get involved. I mean, it's gonna be, the community's gonna have to drive it. We've tried it, and our city staff just doesn't have the time. All these things are great, but I just don't think our city staff has the time to man it. But if we can get help, that's been a big push, so. Anybody else have any public comment? Come on forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jennifer, and I am at 508 North Brookview Lane, and I also own a business in town. A little over 2 years now, I've owned the Healthy Hideaway. It's been there for over 5 years, and I have to say, I have never been asked once, and I don't have these thousands of dollars, but I have never had anybody come into my establishment. I am on the Chamber of Commerce. Not once have I been asked. And I can't do thousands of dollars, but I'd be willing to do a few hundred, plus time and volunteer. I would set up a stand there, we're selling hot drinks. I wouldn't mind doing that. We're always jumping into the community and doing things for the community. And I live and work in Isanti, and I just love having something like this. When you think about the little sledding hill with the kids, and it's like picturesque, and I would hate to see it already go away. I'd also be willing to be on any kind of committee. I can't run anything, but I can volunteer, I can help. We can use my place to even have meetings or whatever too, so if that's a need. But, yeah, no, and if nobody's come to me, I'm sure there's other businesses in town that have not been asked. And I'd even go around to businesses and ask, I don't know, whatever.
That's valuable input, and you're right, because staff, I'm sure, is reaching out to the ones they know that will donate money, because to hit every single business in town would take a lot of staff time, I'm
We
sure.
do send a letter and an email to every business and
You
sent
did.
out, I think, 2 this year, to all the businesses on our list that get it from the mayor's luncheon. And so we did send out like formal letters and emails to follow up with.
And I have every year at the Chamber of Commerce, I've made at least one moment where I go up there and ask businesses that are involved to get involved with
Sure.
Illuminate, and Stephanie does as well. That's a couple times a year that we mention that at those chamber meetings. The chamber meetings are the meetings where a lot of the businesses want to get involved, so we've made a consistent effort on that as a team, so.
Well, if we did form a committee and people were willing and staff can figure out a way to do it, to actually show up at some of the doors, if they were willing to, hit some of the smaller business other than an email, but, there'd have to be some logistics worked out there. That's another thought anyway, because. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Do you know how many letters you sent out? Like,
I think around 160 to 70 is what we have on our list of businesses within Isanti.
do you know how many people respond?
How many did we have this year? How many ever sponsors we get, which is, I don't know,
Less than 10?
yeah, I'd say like 12.
Okay.
And some of those aren't even within the city itself.
Yeah.
so.
But yeah, and we just need to find a group to take over all the man hours and stuff, and, we just gotta reduce the cost. Government can't, everybody wants community, but government can't be the drive of it. It has to be the community. It has to be organizations. Like, I remember as a kid, there was a lot more churches and smaller groups involved. It wasn't always government. There's only so many hours that staff has, and we need to focus on the basic infrastructure, roads and maintaining all the park equipment, and so we just need a group of people to start taking this over. Otherwise, we'll just have to, in my opinion, just put out some stuff, spread it around the city, and use the lights as we can. But once they start breaking, we can't just keep throwing more tax dollars at this, so.
Anybody else have any public comment on this? Come on up, sir. Nick, you'll be next.
Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record.
No booing. Joe Moran, 519 Taft Loop in Cambridge. I've been involved with this since day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the previous council members, and Mr. Lundin was on there, you won't make a profit the first 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, but this is a worthwhile city event. The problem is you have to charge something. $5 a car is a great idea. Yes, Bentleyville does it, Sam's does it, others do that. But if you go up there and you look, there's some places that charge $40 to park for Bentleyville. Because I was involved with that. It's just, you need some involvement of a group. And last year, they were only going to have Santa there one day each week. Well, the food vendors I know said, "Oh, I ain't coming if Santa's not there," because Santa's the draw. He's the one that brings people in. Now, I don't mean to be blowing my own horn, but it's true. I went out and found a sponsor for the second day. So Santa would be there Friday and Saturday.
And that was Isanti Family Dental, correct?
Right.
Well, thank you to them.
And two other businesses that are affiliated with them. And, you know, I went out to 17 businesses between Cambridge and Isanti looking for a sponsor. And every single one of them, including Isanti Dental, said, "We pay taxes. Why can't the city afford this? It makes no sense. Santa should be there." Every single one said the same thing. We pay taxes. There's no reason the city can't afford it. There's none. There's zero. I said, well, the city council is going to say, do you want to pay higher taxes? And he said, have you looked at our tax bill? And I said, I don't look at your tax bill. But you need to have a draw. You need to have people there. You have someone, you know, talking about food trucks. The food trucks were really only there Friday and Saturday. And sometimes they said, there's not enough people here. The first two years I did it, I had lines all the time. This last year, I had lines once in a while, but, you know, it wasn't, the attendance was not like the past years. This is a worthwhile event for you guys. People said, how fun is this? And Mr. Councilmember Lundin was talking about the draw. There were people that I talked to that came from Fargo, from Edina, Bloomington, to this thing. And farther, Duluth came down. to this. Now, if you're driving people that far away, driving 4 hours to this event, and they're coming to see Santa too, it must mean something to somebody. You know, so, I don't know if you guys have any questions for me, because I was in there since the beginning. But, you know, you talk about getting people involved. There have been staff that have talked to me about that same idea. And there are organizations that would like to take this on, but they're not gonna do it for free. They wanna be paid through donations, through ticket sales, through something for all their time and effort to do this, to run it for the city. And, you know, you can't go to 4-H to do it, because you don't want kids help putting up the tree. You want to talk to bigger businesses. But, you know, the community wants it. I have never heard anybody say, nope, we don't want it.
I have.
So,
There's quite a few that don't want it and think that the
too.
city should be out of the whole business in general. I'd say it's probably the majority, but there's definitely a need for it. It's just hard to justify when people are asking for lower taxes, lower taxes, lower taxes. Well, how are we gonna lower taxes and increase spending on an event? It's impossible unless we have help from the community. So I definitely appreciate what you're saying, but we have to have people that are willing to help. If there are other organizations that are interested in maybe partnering, and that's kind of why we opened this avenue. Maybe there is, maybe the county wants to get involved, or Cambridge, or something like that, so you can make it more feasible, because with our city staff, it's just not. I appreciate your public comment on it, though.
I like the idea of the county, but I would hate to put that on them, because that fairground would be perfect for this event, and you could charge by car, and it could grow. I mean, and then you have the whole community putting their tax dollars forth instead of just the residents of Isani at that point. But, I mean, I'm willing to look into every option there is.
Exactly.
you know, city staff knows my number, and they can call for questions. But, like I said, you know, no matter what the city does, there's gonna be residents that say, ooh, yeah. You know, well, you don't need a squad car, cops can run around on bicycles. It doesn't make sense in the winter, folks. You know, there's always somebody that's gonna scream about something. You can't make
Right.
everybody happy, it's not possible.
True.
100%, you can't.
It's not possible.
Nope.
So if the city's gotta put $1 towards it, yeah, people are gonna scream about that $1.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment on this? Come on up, Danelle. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Nell Van Vliet, 508 Mullion Loop. I'm actually someone that's actually against Illuminate Isani. I feel like we've tried for, what are we on, 3 years now?
Yep.
And we haven't seen any revenue from it. We're still $167,000 in the hole. I personally think if someone else wants to take it on, sure. I don't think it should be up to us as taxpayers to pay for it anymore. So, I don't know, that's.
Agreed. Thank you. Any other public comment? Nick, go ahead. Thanks for being patient.
One of my skills. I'll be the dissenting voice. I'm a father with 4 children. We've invited many of our friends to bring their kids out there, and my kids did not enjoy it. We've gone out to Bentleyville, we've gone to Sam's, we've gone to Miracle on the Hill. They love those events. The city does many events well, but I think it's got a big space constraint where if it did grow, it would outgrow the space very quickly. I think the idea of the county fairgrounds makes a lot more sense for the parking and for the ability for the event to grow, and having a few buildings that are winterized as opposed to outhouses in a field. But seeing how much the money that the city has lost on it, you can't keep chasing bad money with good money. And everyone I've talked to is not in favor of the event. I don't know anyone who went there who wants to continue to try and bail it out.
Sure. So I will share that I did talk with a representative that is potentially interested in doing something at the Sandy County Fairgrounds as a collaboration type thing. So that is something that could be possible. I've been trying to reach out to everybody with this. I've been very vocal on Facebook, try and get everybody involved so everybody's in the loop, because with government, it seems like there's always a transparency issue. You know, and if people don't know how they can help, they're not gonna reach out to help, and I think that's why we're getting so many people now that wanna be involved. So I think there is a positive light at the end of the tunnel, but it's gonna take a little bit of time to figure out.
Well, we need to start planning for this by mid-April. So we don't have a whole lot of time to figure something out on this. Definitely bring it up at our next couple of meetings, I think. Maybe see if we're gaining any headway with community committee and.
If a volunteer group would like to assemble and then get,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Just a suggestion. You know, we are getting to the deadline to have to start this. It's a lot to try and roll up in that short amount of time. What is the feasibility of just putting the event on hold for this winter and building our base, building the volunteer group, you know, getting more sponsors, and then maybe coming back next spring with a whole new plan? That way we're not technically saying, no, we're not going to do this, but we're gonna have time to build that momentum, get these things in place, and be able to bring it back. Does that, you know, make sense, or?
Yeah.
I like
Or-
the option.
Is it, so right now, if we were to start planning, say, next month, what is, the hardest part, I assume, is the sponsorship. So is there a way that, you know, if we have a group of people that want to get involved and they'll, you know, they'll really grab this by the horns, potentially, couldn't we just say, yeah, if you guys get something figured out, we'll let you put out the lights and just kind of bypass, you know, most of the city cost and not advertise like we have and not try and, you know, get sponsorship months and months ahead? I mean, could that be something that, you know, if we're a few months out and the group says, yeah, we can do it, you leave that as an option?
I think there's potential for that. The tree itself and the snowman, the larger items do take like anchoring specifically, so I'm not sure what that'll entail for a group moving it out there or what they need to learn and how to put it together. But otherwise, I think potentially, yes, if a group would want to take it on and said they could do it, then we could support them at whatever rate you would want us to.
Okay.
Or even, you know, the big ones that need the anchoring and stuff, would it be feasible to take some public works time just to put those up and have the volunteers put the rest of the smaller, more manageable stuff up? It would still save hours, which would be saving money.
Yeah, I think that would be fair. There's some stuff that only Public Works is really gonna be able to do reasonably.
Otherwise, you are looking at, yeah, the liability.
Right.
Of them moving the big equipment.
Right, so I'd say we just, maybe bring this up again next month, and if you guys can get a group together, I would suggest maybe writing a letter and getting like you know, a handful of names on there of people that would be involved. And you could even reach out to businesses and see if there's any businesses that wanna get involved, or kinda make it, a fluid process.
Okay, so say we come back next month and we're like, you know, we're really trying, but we're not gonna get to this in enough time to,
Sure.
you know, make it happen.
I would say,
Would you still be willing to just put it on hold for the winter this winter?
I like it.
And come back with a new team next year?
yeah, I would.
I would, and I like the idea because it will bring more anticipation the following year by skipping a year, but, and it would give us more time to,
I can work with my autism support groups and other special needs family groups and really advertise it for people to come in and, you know, because the place it's at now is nice, it's quiet, you know, it's enough space where there's not these big booming crowds, people shoving, lots and lots of noise. That's huge. I can't take my granddaughter really anywhere with noise. And for having an event that I can really watch her
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in my opinion, even if we don't do anything this year, I would still like to have some of the bigger stuff put out.
Me too.
Because
I was
we
gonna-
still own it, you need to use it. So like the big tree, the snowman, the big shooting star, some of the bigger stuff, I don't mind putting out, but we're not gonna go and put everything out. That is way too much, public works time.
Instead of having it down at the park with just a few big things, you know, your idea of scattering them a little bit in spaces that would bring more draw to Main Street and the town, and maybe get that kind of going.
And we had talked in a previous meeting about potentially trying to sell these displays, because right now we have a storage issue, we have a setting out issue. I mean, all this stuff, it costs money, but our thought was if we could sell these specific things, to say if Coburn's wanted the tree, and then they take the tree, they store it, and they put it out in the winter. Say if Nick and Drew's wanted another display, it's their responsibility, it gets it out of, the police building is where everything's stored right now. So it kills two,
Brings in the expense of them having to figure out how to put these large things up,
right.
and the wiring and everything else.
But that's their choice and not, they're making that choice versus taxpayers, they don't have the choice. Taxpayers have to pay for it.
All honesty, are you going to make back that initial investment selling it piece by
No.
Me?
No.
Then why not just keep it, shelve it for the year, and come back with another plan? If we can't have another plan by next spring, yeah, then look at, dispersing it and selling it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're gonna make more, instead of piecemealing it, to do it as a group, lot. And, everybody's saying it's gonna take 5 years to break even on something. We're 3 years in. It needs more time. I mean, yeah, people aren't liking it because of the taxes, yeah, it stinks. But I think there is enough of a draw that if we can shelve it, build up that excitement, put out the big things just because you need to have something for Christmas in, right? I really think that might be the best compromise we can come up with. Yeah, if we can't get it together by next spring, yeah, look at the next step. But I don't feel it deserves to be just shot down right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at this point, we're open to anything. A small group or teaming up with county fairgrounds or something. We're open.
Whoever's gonna commit to something with help, that's,
Do we have any approximation of how much of the time was dedicated to those two larger items versus all the other stuff?
So all of the larger items, so like just the big major things, the snowman, the tree, and like the shooting star, those bigger items, would take just under 2 days, Matt said, just because the tree takes a little while, so as if they're doing other stuff. So that's what it takes.
is that 2 days with the whole team?
That I'm not sure about, but he just figured 2 days with the number 3 guys, I think, is
Okay.
what they've been giving, so.
How much did they spend this year? What was the total public works time?
700 hours roughly on Public Works?
Yes.
And if you figure, $60 an hour, that's 42,000.
So that's 48 versus 700? That's a lot more manageable.
Oh, it definitely is, yep.
On the expense report, it was probably closer to about 36,000,
Okay.
so 720 hours.
All right, well, I think this will be a fluid discussion. It's not going anywhere despite what the paper wrote. It wasn't very clear that we were looking at other options, so I'm glad we had the discussion tonight. Travis, is 6 minutes enough time to talk about the police officer retention? Want to give us a rundown quick?
Well, Mayor and Council, just bringing up our issues that we're having, and it's no different than 2019 for those that you were in council, which is only one of you. But I said, one of my major challenges when I took this role was gonna be the recruitment retention. I know we talked about it before, but generally, in order to become a police officer in Minnesota, you have to go through the state mandated skills program, 2-year degree, 4-year degree. They're putting out X amount of eligible hired peoples, which is a lower number than the opening positions across the state. They've been doing that for the last several years, so obviously it puts you in a vacuum. For example, in 1998, when I applied in St. Paul, there was 1,600 applicants, right? When in 2019, when we opened positions, we were getting around 60. And I know Ms. Brooks can actually give us the numbers, but we have an open position now since September. And I think we've had, and she can give you the numbers on that, around 10 applicants. We've interviewed a few. We had one that we were gonna move forward with, but they ended up taking a position with a neighboring agency that has other options. So with that being said, there's twofold to that. So that's a concern that we can't hire anybody, right? That's an issue. But the bigger issue is if we can't replace the one vacancy we have, we need to focus our effort on retaining the talent that we have, right? That's a bigger priority, at least for myself. So trying to trying to figure out what can we do to retain and ancillary recruit, because we only do so much to recruit too. And I know we brought it up a little bit with some of council. One of the things, like with that one candidate left, one of the questions he had in his interview was, do you have take-home vehicles? And we're the only agency in here, besides, you have Cambridge, Isani County, you have North Branch that have that as an option. So that's the only thing that I just wanted to bring up right now, open to other options. So with that, we have enough vehicles for that to be an option. All but 2 live within 5 miles of the city. So we have the vehicles. So is there a cost to the city? Well, there is, but we got to look at, for retention, if for whatever reason, and I can't explain why that's an important, passionate piece that they've approached me on for several years now. But to gain the same retention value, if we're just gonna offer, say, salary increases, right? There's a huge disproportionate amount to that. Meaning how many X amount of dollars would it take to have the same benefit to keep retention as what it would cost for them to drive 3 miles out of the city every day. So I don't have any policies or procedures, I think I just wanted to throw that one piece out there, just to see if that's something that council would entertain and we can look further into it. I know when I started a long time ago, that wasn't ever even a really thing. Now the Metro has seen that as a retention and recruitment piece. Like I talked with the chief from Mendota Heights and how they did theirs. For them, they had to purchase quite a few vehicles. I don't remember the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it cost them to get to that level, to have that as a benefit. And I asked the officers that what's your driving force, and there's some different things for them. Like right now, our officers, when they start their shift, they show up about 40 minutes-ish early. They got to get their equipment out of their lockers, put it in their squad car, set it up, and go. So there's a time savings on them. I guess that would be a benefit for them. I talked with Chief Meyer from North Branch, just because they've been doing it for a very long time. And just what issues have you had, what benefits have you had? He doesn't have anything to compare it to, but his own opinion is the squad maintenance was better. He equated it to me that when you drive your truck every day and you hear something like that's not right, you hear it. But when you're driving different cars and every day, yeah, it sounded funny, but whatever, go home at the end of the day. So that's his anecdotal explanation. He can't put his numbers onto that, but that was one piece that he had for that. I don't know, Ms. Brooks, do you have the numbers for what we're looking for as far as candidates?
So since September, we've received 11 applications. 8 of them have asked about take-home vehicles. And I've received 3 calls from people who that was the driving factor if they were even going to apply. And so when I said, no, we don't allow take-home, they didn't apply. I went up on the post board today, which that's where all police officer positions are posted in the state of Minnesota. And there's 14 open positions that advertise take-home squads as a perk, of the position. And another thing that we've seen is large sign-on bonuses. So if you look at what some of the agencies are offering for sign-on bonuses, take-home squads are significantly cheaper for the city to consider. and that would be for the retention piece for our current officers and for getting people to apply to ISANI.
So out of the 14 that have take-home vehicles as a perk, how many more applicants are they getting for a position than we are? That's the main question. I think it's a statewide issue with applicants. It's not necessarily an ISANI issue.
For sure, it is an issue all over that we just have low number of applicants because not a lot of people are going to school for it anymore. But it has been a driving factor for the interviews that we have had, and the one person that we were ready to make an offer for, that was their deal breaker, and they went to a nearby city that allowed it.
What's the average sign-on bonus that other departments are offering?
They're anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a person.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I even think 10,000 it's not a bad deal at all. I just know how it is on a lot of industries where you're paying huge sign-on bonuses right now because there's such a shortage in that industry. So an attractive sign-on bonus would not be a bad idea. If we're going on 5 months, you still can't find an officer.
You have a
It's gonna be
approximation for
way cheaper.
what the take-home would add on to the cost per squad?
Yeah, I mean, as far as add-on,
It's all implicit cost, not explicit. It's hard to quantify
it
that.
is hard to quantify. I know, like Mendota Heights, they had, I don't remember what she had. She told me 15 miles and everything past that the officers are reimbursing the city for the fuel consumption.
Okay.
So that's what they did with theirs, and like I said, I could look into it more in depth, but generally, they gave a ring and anything out there that the officers had to, if they chose to do so, reimburse the city their fuel consumption for that cost.
I would be interested in potentially discussing the take-home stuff if they're within a certain mileage, and I wasn't sure if the guys that are outside would feel like they're being discriminated on, or, but I think, adding a sign-on bonus it's a big step towards making that, just raising the whole pay wage, and I think that's tough.
Also, Chief Myers had said just a minute ago, I wanted to reiterate that. The officers right now, our current officers, they are spending 40, 45 minutes every time there's a shift change.
Right.
Getting their vehicle ready that they don't get paid for. So
Sure.
that is another thing that would be a huge benefit to allowing them to have a take-home car. Not just for accountability of having, like he had talked about you hear a noise and should we get that addressed rather than I'll just let the next guy deal with it. So it's accountability for their squad, also a huge time saver of getting it ready each time.
Yep.
they have to switch.
All right, it's
wouldn't mind-
6:02. Can we maybe get a motion to recess and come back to this after the planning commission meeting?
Can we finish this item, or?
I don't know that we're going to in a few minutes, if that's okay. Otherwise, we can try and finish it. It's up to you guys, I guess.
I say go into recess.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into recess.
Second?
All right, motion from Councilmember Holmgren, second from Councilmember Peterson to go into recess. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are recessed, and we will pick this up with the planning commission.